Hey everybody! Welcome to Friday the 13th, the series. I'm your producer, Robert.
And I'm your guest, Matt.
And after a complete, spoiler-filled recap of the episode, we are going to discuss the show you either just learned existed or always wondered how it existed. We promise the answers will be few and far between because we're just here to have some goofity fun exploring a show that, despite or possibly even because of its faults, isn't good and isn't so bad it's good, but is still somehow oddly charming. Let's dive in, shall we? Longish episode this time, so I'm going to keep this brief. Friend of the show, TV's Matt, is back to wrap up our discussion of episode 15, Vanity's Mirror. He watched the show frequently as a kid, whereas I've only seen the first 16 as of this recording. This episode will mostly continue and conclude our discussion, but we'll take a brief time out to follow up on Matt's Curio of the Week recommendations from part 1 of our episode 15 discussion. And then one more brief interlude for me to conclude my scripted synopsis of Vanity's Mirror. If you'd like to watch episode 15 or any other episode of the 80s television series, visit the Inner Demon Entertainment website where you'll find a link to the show. Does this look like any high school campus you're familiar with from the Midwest?
No, definitely not a high school campus. It does look like a college campus.
When the bullies walk up and Scuts gives Helen a hard time yet again, and she tears into him and says that she wouldn't go to prom with him if he was basically the last guy on Earth, is it me or does Scut Farkus actually look a bit wounded?
Yeah, I noticed that. Not sure exactly why they made that choice, but gives them some layers.
It does, but it seems like a real quirk of the show where sometimes the actors give a good performance and they give these little emotional beats, but the emotional beats don't necessarily make sense in the grand scheme of the scene. It feels like they were given one take and no direction to make sure that everyone was on the same page. The actor just read the script and said, oh, she really tears into him. I guess I should be a bit wounded. And no one said, well, no, because you came over here to bully her. You wanted the reaction. If anything, you should be a bit elated.
I think you're right, that they probably just didn't really give them more direction.
I appreciate it on the acting level. It just adds one more difficulty, though, in trying to make heads or tails of the scene.
This show has a lot of weird little touches that don't make sense.
Speaking of, Helen's jacket. She wears a leather jacket. Does that seem like an odd choice for a character that's supposed to be an outsider, or is that just me?
I totally agree with you on that. She does not strike me as the most school-spirited person.
Exactly. I think it was just a convenience so that they could have that newspaper photograph and explain why the protagonists were able to track her down.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, Matt, please help me. When she uses the compact here in a second on Scut Farkus, is it intentional?
I don't think it's supposed to be, because later in the episode, when she's using it intentionally, she will actually hold it out as opposed to just hold it in front of her.
Exactly. In fact, tangent here, but on IMDb, there are not one, but 2 photos of her holding up the compact when she uses it on Russell. And there's a third image of her in the same scene, just looking over her shoulder almost at the camera. It's the worst IMDb page I've ever seen.
I take it she doesn't have too many credits to her name then.
Not for the actress's page, but for the episode page. For some reason, they couldn't find 6 different photos for the episode.
I'm assuming that's something that the production company has to send in.
To quote Mystery Science Theater 3000, they just didn't care.
Right. There's certain things about the series you could probably say that about too.
Oh, you bite your tongue. Every frame a painting, Matt.
Okay, I stand corrected.
Just look at that compact. They just didn't care. I say that because the compact has a rather noticeable crack across its entire length. Not the outside, but the mirror. Did you notice that and read anything into that?
Maybe they just figured, hey, this gives it some character.
I was literally just going to say, I like it. I think it gives it some character.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm more or less with you. It seems like she uses it on accident. She reflects some ray of sun on this otherwise completely cloudy fall day.
It's the opposite of when John Carpenter and company had to import dead leaves for Halloween so that it looked like fall in the Midwest.
Because they filmed in Southern California.
Right.
Did it bother you every time this compact somehow reflected an insane laser beam of light when there was no obvious light source?
I did find it a bit odd, but I just sort of chalked it up to, supernatural.
Comparing it to the previous episode, Bedazzled, you can almost justify it as saying, well, it must just be like the lantern where it creates its own ray of light.
Uh-huh.
That'd be super weird since those two episodes also bear some other similarities, so it's odd that they appear back to back in the series order.
Right.
I think there's more supporting evidence that she uses it accidentally, given how long it takes Scott Farkas to convince her that he actually likes her. Like, she didn't expect that reaction.
She definitely acts like she had no clue that that's what was going to happen.
And yet her mind immediately goes to, oh, he really does like me. I think I'll murder him.
Right.
As you do.
Maybe this is a cultural difference kind of a thing, but I don't remember ever seeing any trash compactors in my high school. So is that a Canadian thing?
Canadian listeners, please write in and let us know. Well, then again, the industrial off-limits areas of this high school are bigger than most American high schools.
Very true.
They go through multiple rooms. At least one of those rooms has 2 levels and a catwalk. So why not an industrial strength junkyard trash compactor? The next scene, when Helen leads Scott through the halls, what is happening geographically? She kisses Scott, the girls scoff, they walk on down the hall, and then we hard cut to what appears to be the same hall, and they come walking out, but they're not holding hands anymore. She pops in a mint or gum or something, and then they walk in the opposite direction past Russell and some other guy.
Yeah.
Those two scenes coming back to back feel like they're implying something that I cannot get a beat on. Like there's something that happened in between those two off screen, but I don't know what. Because if nothing happened in between, it's just a weird temporal jump. It would be the sloppiest of storytelling.
I took it as just a time jump.
And we had nothing we could cut away to. There was nothing we could do with Mickey, Ryan, and Jack. There was no establishing shot. We couldn't afford a still shot of a clock.
Or apparently even just a dissolve.
So true. If you can't solve it, dissolve it. And they couldn't even be bothered to do that. They just didn't care. Since we're here, do you enjoy Russell's button-down shirt, leather vest combo?
Trying to figure out how to describe that.
The man truly has a style all his own.
He really does.
He's wearing a t-shirt, a button-down, and a leather vest.
And I don't really remember seeing anyone wear clothing like that around that time period. Maybe I'm not the best person to judge what was in style for high school kids at the time.
Oh, bite your tongue. You are a master of all things sartorial.
Oh, thank you very much.
I mean, you were quick to point out Mickey's fez last time.
Yeah, but that was so outlandish.
I have to ask a family ties question. You recall how Alex P. Keaton always carried a briefcase?
Yeah.
Did you find that incredibly bizarre even when you were a child watching the show?
I don't think it actually crossed my mind when I was a kid. To be honest with you, it hadn't really crossed my mind as an adult either. I just viewed it as part of his character because he's trying so hard to be this young conservative go-getter.
Well, in your kid brain, was he old enough that he just read as any other adult?
Probably.
I ask because when I was going to kindergarten, it was everything from kindergarten through high school, and there was one kid who carried a briefcase.
Really?
I don't know if that's why or if he was just eccentric, but I have to ask, did anyone in your school do that?
No, that's definitely kind of odd.
Yeah, I always thought so. I thought it was just as odd as seeing Alex P. Keaton do it on the show.
Right.
The next scene here in the hall, Helen is leading Scott Farkas up a staircase and they pass Scott. And Helen immediately pretends like she's not with Scott Farkas all of a sudden. Did that feel like the opposite of how she should have played it? She should have been trying to make him jealous, and if anything, this is the moment she should have kissed Scott Farkas to try to make Scott jealous.
You know, now that you mention that, that does make a certain amount of sense. At the same time, I can also see her logic being, I don't want Scott to think I'm off the market now.
That's a perfectly cromulent interpretation. Did you happen to notice her sweater with the dancing couple on the back and the music notes on the front?
I missed the music notes on the front, but yeah, I remember the dancing couple on the back.
It's even more wild than Ryan's hockey sweater from the episode with the scarecrow.
Oh, yeah. Once again, I think that's part of trying to make her as unappealing as possible.
Well, yes, and Were they also trying to do that to Ryan?
I can only assume it's maybe another lost in translation thing. Dudes in Canada always wear hockey jerseys.
Choice of hockey makes perfect sense. What I'm saying is the show seems to be in some kind of contest to see how ugly a sweater they can put their cast in.
Or how ugly a hat.
Oh, no, no. The hat is the raccoon tail of the episode, Matt. Definitely don't lose to the fez.
Right.
Just a little Stella reference for all you fans out there. Helen and Scott go from the hallway scene, the staircase scene, and then they're back outside, which means they're back in their letter jackets. So again, we get this weird temporal fluctuation where I don't know what's happening because it feels like they either took the world's longest detour through the school and changed clothes by way of ditching their jackets just to get out here to wherever the trash compactor is. Or again, it feels like there are scenes missing, which I'm sure there aren't. I don't think there's a director's cut of this that's 3 hours long, but it's just such a weird, jarring jump in time.
It really is.
Effectively, it means that the scenes inside serve no purpose and were filler. Scott had no reaction to them, and there's that other hallway scene where, she kissed Scott and a couple girls laughed at him, and now they're outside. Nothing was accomplished.
I think there was a bit accomplished in showing other people's reactions to her new relationship with Scott Farkas, and also the reactions of Scott Farkas's friends. We did already get a reaction prior to that, but I feel like this one was to drive home. Yes, this is still happening. This was not just some weird fluke. And then, isn't that the first time it gets alluded to that Helen has a thing for Scott?
I got the impression Helen was into Scott way back when all these characters were introduced outside, because you see Joanne and Scott flirting and they kiss before heading inside, and then we linger on Helen's reaction.
Oh, okay. I'm trying to give the show the benefit of the doubt here. They maybe wanted to drive home that it was specifically Scott that she was jealous about, not just like in general, my sister has a boyfriend and I don't.
I would argue against you just a little bit in seeing the reactions from the other high school students to them in this moment, because I think that actually weakens the same reactions that we get later when she uses the compact on Scott and takes him to the prom. But I do agree with you that I guess we kind of needed it to justify Russell's reaction, specifically since he gets so bent out of shape at the idea that Scott Farkas being with her was some kind of phenomenally degrading action on her part, which is maybe the most insulting thing you can possibly say to a person. But given that the plot as it is seems to necessitate that to justify Russell's actions and then her using the compact on him, I guess that's fair. So I will concede the point, sir. The battle is yours.
Thank you.
When they head outside, we get our second instance of Helen giving just a bone-chilling look at Scott Farkas when she decides she's going to put him in the trash compactor.
Oh, yeah.
The previous bone-chilling look being a couple scenes previous, right after she used the compact and he comes over and starts flirting. So I just want to take a moment to give some serious credit to the actress. I believe it's Ingrid Veninger, Veninger, because she does give some truly chilling looks where you know exactly what's going through the character's head.
She definitely portrayed that malevolence without any dialogue.
Would you like to discuss the trash compactor scene, or shall I?
Thought it was really interesting that they decided to have a big sign next to it that says, "Warning, machine may start at any time." As if they're like, okay, how are we going to explain why people don't think that she just straight up murdered this guy?
They wanted so hard to avoid police involvement and the problems that that would create for the storyline that they put this sign out there that makes no sense in any reality.
Only for the exact points that you made there.
It's Willie pounding in that sign that says "Caution well." Like, dude, if the thing can start randomly, you need to have a mechanic come and take a look at it. Were you also going to question the fact that a high school girl carries around a handkerchief?
That also was a little bit odd.
Speaking of temporal jumps, does this storyline suddenly happen in the 1890s?
She gonna get the vapors?
Yeah, is this the antebellum South? Why does she have this? She could have dropped a book bag, or a book, or literally anything.
She couldn't drop something that she really needed.
It was the 80s, Matt. She couldn't have dropped her old leg warmers in there. It was 87. It was time to move on anyway.
She's not one to be known for stylish choices, so she probably would have kept wearing them long after they went out of style.
Jumping for a second to later in the episode, that dress that she wears to prom is hideous, right? It wasn't just the 80s.
It was absolutely awful.
It was meant to be as bad as her makeup job, which is really gilding the lily given the baseline makeup job that hair and makeup put her in for this episode. This poor actress.
I can't imagine that any actor wants to be known for being ugly on a show.
Or playing a weirdo or a creep.
Right. It's like, yeah, I got the job, but
It's always got to be a bit bittersweet.
I love the little touch of Helen dabbing her eyes as if wiping tears away and then just throwing the handkerchief behind her back.
Yeah, I don't know whose idea it was to give her the hanky, but the actress took that and ran with it. I seriously doubt that was in the script or that she got the direction.
Would not be at all surprised if that was improvised by the actor.
The prop department gave you lemons and she made lemonade, Matt. Well, after the commercial break, we get the entire school assembled around the trash compactor.
Right.
What are they doing?
Yeah.
No security, no school officials decided, hey, maybe our students shouldn't be up above it looking directly down into it as they remove his remains in a coffee can. Did you happen to notice the background actor that reverses course about 3 times before finally walking away from the camera?
No.
Go to 1333.
It very much follows your theory that they're not really directing their actors.
It was the 80s. Maybe he just decided his bit of business would be the safety dance.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The robot. Oh, but Helen's smug satisfaction at having killed the man. Just delightful. And speaking of odd decisions from actors, when she passes Russell, is he wiping his mouth out of anger?
All I can think is maybe the actor wanted to do more than glare.
It's a mouth wipe of suspicion. Peter Falk looks at the ground. I'll wipe my mouth on the back of my hand. When they realize that they're looking for Helen, and Mickey says she'll be in the book, did that take you as long as it took me to figure out what she meant?
No, I did figure that out fairly quickly.
Oh, well, check out the big brain on Matt. That's right, Matt, because of the phone book.
The thing that I was thinking was, presumably, she's not the person who pays the bills on the telephone line.
She's a kid and would not be listed.
Exactly. But at the same time, it kind of doesn't appear like Helen and her sister have parents.
I was going to say this show presupposes maybe she is the one who pays for the house, because there seem to be sisters with no siblings and no parents.
I'm assuming that was more so done just because it would complicate the story too much. It seems like Joanne is the older of the two, so it would make more sense that if either one of them were going to be in charge of the household, it would be Joanne.
Fair point. I withdraw my correction.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, they totally follow the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia logic for this show.
Right.
Whenever they paint themselves into a corner, it's just, but that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't have to make sense. You're right. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
For the next scene, we get the dirtiest feet I have ever seen on television.
They're trying everything they can to make this character really unappealing.
Honestly, kudos to them. When they realized they were going to have this shot with her feet directly in the camera's face, they took the time to dirty up her feet real good. And it's kind of weirdly natural in that for some reason, one of them, the entire foot is dirty, and the other one is mostly clean. It's just the ball of the foot and the heel that's filthy. It's incongruous in a way that feels oddly real.
Yeah, it's not perfectly symmetrical.
And are they also trying to imply that she's fat or has an eating problem, even though she clearly does not? What is with all the sandwiches?
Going along with trying to make her unappealing, it's like they gave her a bit of direction, which is eat in a really sloppy manner.
Pedal to the metal on the unattractive scale. We're firing on all cylinders. Maybe they were so busy filming they didn't have time to break the actors, so to avoid meal penalties, here's 3 sandwiches. Does the number of birthmarks she has vary from scene to scene?
It's hard to say, also hard to figure out if that's a byproduct of it being in standard def and not the highest resolution on YouTube.
Yeah, I frequently have that issue. There was a time I missed an entire corpse, lost it to shadow because of the low resolution.
And what are those on here? Are they supposed to be blemishes?
I feel like we now have maybe 3 things going on at this point: moles, cold sores, and pimples, which is not true of other scenes. That's what's throwing me off. It seems like it changes with every shot, which is especially weird given that this only happens over, I think, 2 days.
Yeah, I mean, it could just be another example of they just didn't care.
Mickey comes to the door of her house. Mickey specifically says she's a buyer for an antique store, and Helen's response is, "Oh, we're not interested in any of that old junk." That really sticks in my craw. I don't have any issue with it being written in the script or even surviving multiple drafts, but it seems like the kind of thing that a director or just the actors would have pointed out on set and said, "Hey, what if we just tweak this slightly?"
Maybe the director had a reputation for being an absolute tyrant.
The screenwriter was the director. Every word is precious.
At some point, I actually do want to get into the writer and director of this episode.
I'm intrigued, sir. What do you have to say? If you like the horror genre as much as we do, you can preview the horror comic book Requiem for a Psychopath right now for free at the Inner Demon Entertainment website. Imagine a world in which horror film slashers are real. Then imagine a troubled teen bringing one out of retirement to help him take revenge on his bullies. It was written by me and drawn by friend of the show, Stephen Yu. Again, that's Requiem for a Psychopath on the Inner Demon Entertainment website. And if you dig it, please either review and rate it 5 stars on Amazon, or don't rate and review it at all. Ratings of less than 5 stars send the algorithm into murder mode for some reason. Thanks. I hope you enjoy it.
One of the co-writers of the story, Levant, or Levant, I'm not sure how you pronounce that. That is his sole IMDb credit.
You know, I think I noticed that as well.
Apparently never worked on it, like not even other episodes of this show.
Yeah, wild, right?
And then the director, William Fruitt, he worked on another show that was shot in Canada that I watched fairly religiously as a kid.
Go on.
War of the Worlds.
Oh.
I don't know if you ever saw any episodes of War of the Worlds back in the late 80s.
I didn't after I watched the credit sequence as a kid and saw that hand burst out of someone's chest.
Right. That was another show that got away with more blood and gore than you would expect. And this show actually was aired in prime time. I mean, it was syndicated, but Fox, I think, was the network I watched it on. They actually showed it at like 7 o'clock or something.
If you want to know more about that, audience, go check out any Jeremiah episode.
Okay. It was pretty wild because the hands would come out of the chest and their go-to was to gouge out people's eyes.
Really?
Yeah. You would see the 2 fingers pressed into the eye sockets and then blood running down their face. That's surprisingly violent, especially if you consider it was supposed to be a sequel to the 1950s George Powell film. That didn't have any blood or gore in it that I remember.
Yeah, as a kid, I was like, hey, I'm trying to watch Quantum Leap here. And then that comes out immediately thereafter, and I'm thinking to myself, cool, a fun sci-fi thing with lasers and aliens. And then, oh, good God, man.
Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that I did watch it, because that was around the time that I wasn't really as desensitized to gore as I am now.
Well, you're a better man than I, because you actually continued watching it. And I was like, nope, I'm tapping out.
Yeah, I was just pretty much always into the scary stuff, but didn't really get hardcore into it until I was in high school and college.
Since you broached that subject, I'll mention that I did go ahead and watch the next episode of Friday the 13th, the series, episode 16, Tattoo. Minor spoiler for that. One of the tattoos that's drawn on an individual is of a demon hand. Of course, the tattoos come to life. And this thing bursts through his chest and then reaches up to strangle him to death.
It seems like overkill.
It's not even how the other tattoos operate. The other ones, it's more like if you draw a spider, the spider becomes real and then walks up your body to your face and then bites you and you die. Fair enough. But this one, for some reason, it doesn't appear on you. It bursts out of you and then reaches up and strangles you. I noted it because Jeremiah had asked me, did I think the show was more violent than other shows I remember being on TV at the time? And the answer is yes.
Absolutely.
By and large, it is, with maybe that exception of War of the Worlds. Up until now, I probably would have said, well, probably some of the burning effects on this show were the worst, but that demon hand was pretty graphic, and it certainly gave me flashbacks to being a kid and seeing that moment from War of the Worlds.
I think the reason why I watched the show was because I was kind of a little bit obsessed with the book by H.G. Wells. So I watched it for the premise and did not realize that it was actually going to be pure horror instead of sci-fi.
You had already read the book by that point?
Oh yeah, I read that when I was a little kid.
Wow, good on you. Were you already reading Sir Arthur Conan Doyle as well?
It actually wasn't until I was in my late 20s that I sat down and read through all the Sherlock Holmes stories.
That's a good age to find him. Have you read any of the recent Conan comic books?
Last recent Conan comics I would have read would have been the Marvel comics from late 2010s, I think it was, which were pretty decent.
Did you read the very original Marvel comics of Conan?
Oh yeah, I've read a lot of those. Those are really good. Roy Thomas is excellent at that sword and sorcery stuff.
It's a pretty faithful adaptation of the character.
I thought so. I mean, honestly, a more faithful adaptation than the 1982 movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
So this isn't a red letter media situation discussing Follow That Bird. They get Big Bird's character all wrong. I don't consider it canon.
Right.
I would like to check out some of those early comics at some point.
For a while, when Dark Horse had the license, they were putting out some nice trade paperbacks of all the old Marvel comics. And then when Marvel got the rights back, they also put out some nice trade paperbacks. But now that Titan has the rights, I think all they put out was like big omnibus, which is over $100, or probably a series of omnibuses because wouldn't be able to fit the entire series in just one of them. But I don't really like reading the omnibuses because you have to basically set them on a table.
Yeah, you wouldn't be the first online pundit or podcaster that's referred to how difficult it is to actually read omnibuses. They look real nice on the shelf, but they are a pain to read.
I had the omnibus editions of Tomb of Dracula, and even though I had those, I still bought the trade paperbacks that came out later. That's like, these are going to be much easier to read.
You need a lectern to put them on.
Yes.
Did you have anything else on that scene where Mickey and Helen confront each other?
The only other thing was just that after Mickey leaves, I was actually, just for a little bit, concerned that Helen was going to leave the sandwich behind. She did grab it, so I was relieved.
She left the gun, took the sandwich.
Exactly.
Leave the compact, take the sandwiches. Yeah, since they took the time to have her walk over and set those down on the way. I don't know why she couldn't have just held the plates during the shot. Too heavy for the actress, I guess. But they took the time to have her walk over and set it down and then pick it back up and head upstairs to keep eating.
Right.
I love when Helen goes upstairs and takes out the compact and then a photo of Scott that is clearly the actor's headshot.
Yep, that would be attached to a resume or whatever.
It's funny how different photography was back in the 80s when we didn't have skills because we couldn't take so many photos and instantly get that feedback and improve.
Oh, yeah.
Put in our 10,000 hours, getting our reps in.
Mm-hmm.
I always go back and look at them, and every single person, it's full body, dead center of the frame, tons of empty space around them on all sides. Just the worst photographs you've ever seen. But that's why, kids. Although I hear Polaroids are making a limited comeback.
Why?
Novelty.
I guess.
Well, I guess we'll jump to Ryan skulking outside a high school at night, as one does.
It was a different time.
I did use skulk correctly, yes? You're not just humoring me?
He's not necessarily trying to be, like, stealthy about it, but he does look a little suspect.
Well, he is Ryan the Lion. This is an episode where our protagonists are kind of always one step behind and really are just winging it. Every time they ask for information, Jack doesn't actually know.
It's been long enough since I've watched the episodes that I saw as a kid. Is this different from what they usually do? I mean, I know it's definitely different from the previous episode where we find them in media res tracking down the lantern proactively.
Yeah, they're executing some serious usual suspects level game plan there. I would say yes. Often Jack knows exactly what the object is, has a book on the subject, and can tell them all about it. Likewise, they often do have a plan. The plan might fall apart, and of course they have to do some investigative work to track down the item, but once they do, they often have some kind of plan they're putting into action.
Okay.
Just because we keep referencing episode 3, Cupid's Quiver, at the end of that episode, they clearly had an elaborate plan that involved sending in Mickey in disguise.
Right.
It got a little loosey-goosey after that, I'll be honest, but they had some kind of plan, shambolic though it was. And speaking of episode 3, where they decorated with a different kind of tinsel, what did you make of this high school prom's decorations and theming? Christmas garlands, Matt. Christmas garlands.
Trying to think back to either of the proms that my class had. I don't remember them decorating with garlands. Good Lord, this looks tacky.
I understand they need to pinch every penny, but garland, Matt. Tinsel. I'm almost surprised they're not wearing conical paper hats with party blowers. What's the cheapest way we could possibly make this read as a party?
I guess I wouldn't really go with the whole prom theme.
Neither would Christmas tinsel, Matt.
True.
Do you have anything in this gym scene in which Helen ensorcels Russell?
This is one of the few occasions where it actually put me on the side of a bully, because he's not wrong. She did something she should be arrested for or whatever.
Yeah, this is one of those Spartacus level reversals of fortune we were talking about, where you go from disliking a character to completely siding with them.
Once again, maybe it's only through the influence of the compact, but she comes across as a way bigger asshole than them.
Oh, definitely, because this time there's no question she uses the compact on him intentionally.
I remember thinking there was something strange about his voice after he gets ensorcelled by the compact.
Well, regarding that comment you made in our previous record, I did look into it. The actor that plays Russell, Simon Reynolds, was born in Canada. So there's no real reason I can think of why he would have an accent, but maybe he liked to improvise them and no one told him no. Like I said earlier, I think Mickey had a southern accent at one point. On this show, I think anything is possible. We see Ryan noticing the date for prom, and I have to say it's a nice little touch that he has some small period earbuds, the small type of headphones you would sometimes see in the 80s that went straight into your ears. They have a cord, of course. It's a nice little detail, wardrobe-wise.
All I could think, seeing him disguised as a high school student, was Steve Buscemi in 30 Rock. How do you do, fellow kids?
As I mentioned in the script, though, I think two wrongs make a right. All the cast is old enough that it's completely believable that Mickey and Ryan would be able to blend in with them.
I also made that note. Good thing for him, all the high school students are in their mid-20s.
Another little detail, too, that when he just happens to stumble across Helen and Russell, he actually takes out a photograph of Helen. I would have been perfectly willing to believe that he just recognized her or remembered her from the newspaper, and it's oddly believable that she didn't even glam herself up for the yearbook photo, so she looks exactly the same.
Yeah. I kind of enjoy the look on Helen's face when she spots the table saw. She just looks utterly enamored with it.
Once again, serious credit to Ingrid Benninger. Her facial reactions are wonderful.
But how is it that she doesn't get any blood on herself?
Yes, fortunately it all ends up on the wall. Oh, I'm sorry, one minor pool on the floor, despite the fact this kid was cut in two.
Right.
Yeah, no, here they decided to be modest with the gore for some reason.
Ryan trying to avoid the light reflection from the compact is kind of hilarious.
It is wild, especially since Jack seems to indicate later all you have to do is close your eyes.
Right?
Which would also be a phenomenally awkward thing to watch and just as spastic. But yes, the way Ryan runs around like the beam can't touch him at all is just insanity.
Yeah, or like he's trying to ward off a bee or something.
If you replace the score with yakety sax, you wouldn't bat an eye.
Nope, not at all.
Hey, just for fun, Matt, go back a second to the hallway scene at 2038, because I am absolutely fascinated by this background actor. There's something so 80s about this look.
Wait, is that a girl?
I believe so. This was in that weird 80s window where glam rock was in, and you could actually get away with a certain amount of androgyny despite the ultra-conservative air of the United States, at least at the time.
Not like it is now, where they're suddenly becoming this major political talking point.
As soon as they had the words to describe it, it became an issue, but as long as you didn't, you just couldn't talk about it.
Yeah. I didn't really notice her when I first watched this, but yeah, now that you're having me go back through it, I'm like, yeah, this person definitely stands out.
My eye went straight to her the first time. That is an interesting choice for a background actor.
Mm-hmm.
And then in a moment, Ryan's going to bump into her and knock all the books out of her hands. But not in a hate-filled way. He's just a spaz, folks. There's no malice in his heart, only spaz. Might want to have a doctor check that. So this high school has not only a catwalk, but some kind of industrial coolant channel. HPS return, I think this giant pipe says on it.
I'm not even sure what that would stand for.
I have absolutely no idea, but man, does it produce some smoke if a human body falls through it. They definitely use this room for shooting glam rock music videos. Twisted Sister has played this room.
And Ryan gets knocked out for a long time.
A ridiculous chunk of this episode.
He would have suffered some kind of very severe brain injury from that, I would think.
Yeah, he's going to be out of pocket for a while because they rounded out the frame by placing a couple of buckets in there. And it's a nice touch, but it also implies he landed on them, which is only going to increase the damage further.
Sure.
I mean, he's not going to suffer the kind of damage that Jack Marshak would have when he fell down that elevator shaft a few episodes back.
Oh, right.
But it'll still be up there.
At least unlike the bowler's father from Mystery Men, Jack didn't fall down an elevator shaft onto some bullets.
And we get a nice subtle psycho homage here as the steam gradually stops flowing from the pipe. Poor Ryan's soul leaves his body. A little bit of follow-up on Ryan Hollinger and Savage Land. Thank you for the recommendation. Really enjoyed it.
Oh, good.
Very cool if you're into mockumentary horror, because it's not technically found footage. It's a fake documentary.
Right, yeah.
Help me out, Matt. Does horror have a better term for fake documentaries than mockumentary, which always seems like it kind of implies comedy?
It makes you think of this as Spinal Tap or any of the other Christopher Guest.
Good point. Christopher Guest as well.
I don't believe there is another term that people use for that. I think it's usually just mockumentary.
I watched the YouTube episode of Ryan Hollinger's review of Savage Land as well and found it interesting. And then I think it auto-played, and I started listening to this review for a movie called Scythebind. And I'm like, crap, you're ahead of me? You know where this is going?
Yeah.
Dang it. The audience doesn't know, so I'll just keep spinning it. But it's nice that you picked up that quickly. I think Ryan is from Ireland, maybe? I'm like, wow, that is a cool name. Scythe, like a Grim Reaper's scythe, and Bind, like bind, torture, kill. That's a pretty grim title. That's really original. It just kind of rolls off the tongue. Scythebind. It's like this movie starts out in the Southwest with a couple of criminals driving around on a road trip, and they're being chased by these phantasms. And I'm like, boy, that sure sounds familiar, but I never saw a Scythebind. So they end up in this house, and they encounter this couple, and he keeps talking about Scythebind. And eventually, after I don't know how many times, an embarrassingly high number, I have to admit, oh, this is Southbound.
Yeah.
A movie I saw a couple of years back. I looked quite to the fool, the April Fool, if you will.
It is quite the strange dialectical quirk for whichever region of Ireland he's from.
Well, that's what threw me, because for most of it, obviously I can tell the man has an accent, but it seemed pretty subtle. But it was the way he said both south and bound that was just wildly different.
Aside from that, it is a bit of a running gag among the people who comment on his videos to make mention of the way he pronounces however.
Can you reproduce it?
However.
I have to watch some more, and I'll look out for that. But yeah, like I said, like both the movie Savage Land and Ryan Hollinger's videos, thank you for the recommendations.
You're very welcome.
Back from commercial break, Joanne busting in on Helen. They're both getting ready for the prom. And the scene has tension, just unwarranted tension, where it looks like Joanne might walk off with the compact, but it's not like Helen couldn't get it back. Although nice reaction from Helen, I have to say, when that happens.
She gives a pretty decent performance. I also like the touch in this scene that you get the impression that Helen is most definitely not familiar with how to put on makeup because she accidentally jabs her eyelid or something. Joanne is actually a really genuinely good person. I mean, I get why Helen would be resentful, but I feel like she gets downright malicious about it. It's another thing I'm not sure. Is that just the way she is, or is that an effect of the compact?
Well, yes, and I actually felt that all of the good-looking people, and really everyone except Helen, They're genuinely good.
Point that I had in my notes is ugly people are evil. That seems to be the message of the episode.
The morals on Friday the 13th, the series, are sometimes a little off kilter.
Right.
I mean, the jerks are the jocks, but not Scott. Well, I don't know if Greg is actually a jock. It goes to show what I know. Anyone wearing a leather jacket is immediately a jock in my mind. Even Scott Farkas. And then we get a moment in which Ryan stirs and then immediately falls back unconscious.
We need somehow to show that time has passed, so we're going to cut away to this, even though nothing really happens.
I think they needed exactly 10 seconds of filler, and they got it. What did you think about the fact that when Scott shows up at Helen's place, it's actually Joanne who puts on Scott's boutonniere? Don't we typically get a scene of the guy putting on the girl's corsage?
Usually, yeah. I'm trying to remember when I went to prom. I think we just did the wrist corsage instead of the one that's pinned to the dress.
I mean, it's kind of a weird tradition if you think about it. In movies, it's always guy shows up and in front of the parents usually has to pin a corsage on the girl's chest, which seems like it's just fraught with all kinds of problems.
But we have established that Helen and Joanne do not have parents.
Fair point.
In the middle of that, it cuts back to Mickey and Jack. And once again, what is up with Mickey's headwear?
The world's tallest beret.
Right.
I didn't know you could wear a beret inside out, but somehow she's pulling it off. It's like a bag of potato chips. They just inflate that hat at the factory.
Trying to remember, does she have the big 80s hair in this?
No, not typically. Her hairstyle changes with every single scene she's in. It's often pinned or braided or in a roll or a bun or something.
Because I noticed I hadn't really been paying a lot of attention to that, mostly because I'd just be distracted by whatever hat she was wearing.
Exactly. We've gone through Ryan and then Mickey, and now Jack has to finally be enlisted to to skulk through the high school as well. I mean, honestly, Jack is old enough that you can just go the other direction and pretend he's a teacher or staff.
That's true.
He's a visiting principal, here to see how things are done right. Yes, that'll work.
Off screen, he did pin on a corsage because she is wearing one.
Oh, good eye.
After that, it goes to the big reveal.
The descending the staircase sequence, the dark mirror version. And speaking of big hair,
It's not just big, it's also asymmetrical.
it's like Sputnik, spherical, yet quite pointy in places. And I'm only noticing now, but how is her pearl necklace just a little bit wrong? It's like there's a piece of wire running through it instead of cord, so it has these unnatural angles to it, the way a necklace absolutely shouldn't.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about.
It's a total teardown. It's a fail on every level. In just a second here, when Helen makes her play for Scott, I really liked actress Gwendolyn Pacey's reactions. Her shock is fantastic and completely believable.
Yeah.
Helen tells Joanne and Scott that her date is coming, but she knows full well there ain't nobody coming for her. So what was her end game, Matt?
I'm completely without a clue on that one.
It's probably only there so that the show had an excuse to cut away to Jack and Mickey searching the school. We needed to see Jack and Mickey just randomly pick a door and for it to turn out to be correct. That's where Ryan has been lying this whole time. Matt, did you feel that the addition of the rats was a bridge too far?
I didn't really understand the point.
I think the show blinked. I think they realized they were going to cut back and forth that many times, and they got cold feet and said, we got to add something. There's got to be something to raise the stakes. So about 30 seconds before they find Ryan, some rats show up.
In my notes, I put, the rats were just trying to help.
They're just there to clean up all that blood.
Right. We cut back to Helen, Joanne, and Scott. It's apparent they've just been sitting there waiting for a while.
Yes, we, the audience, are watching our characters kill time. This is the rare case where we watch our protagonists wait for the plot to catch up. The A storyline characters are just waiting for the B storyline characters to catch up to them. That's how much they've been outpaced. Helen enlists Scott to stage a hanging with Joanne. Is this meant to read as suicide, Matt?
I can only assume, because otherwise I don't understand what the point would be. I don't know that I would feel comfortable doing one of those scenes.
Let's take a tangent, Matt. Which stunts would you be comfortable performing?
That's an excellent point. Probably none of them.
I'm going to guess you're not keen on being set on fire.
Certainly not.
We get some great falls in this episode. You up for jumping off a building?
Ooh, I'm not big on falling from heights. For example, the Tower of Terror, or as it's now known, the Guardians of the Galaxy ride at Disneyland. I hate it.
Really?
Or I hated the Tower of Terror because of the fact that they don't just drop you once. They drop you, they take you back up, they drop you again. They do that like 2 or 3 times before they finally drop you all the way down. Yeah, I'm just not into that.
It's like they pull the Band-Aid a little bit, tamp the Band-Aid back down, pull it again, put it back down, then rip it off.
Exactly, and it's like somehow it's pulling out hair every time.
What about swimming in the ocean? Technically, that constitutes a stunt in the film industry.
Yeah, I actually cannot swim.
Really?
Yeah, it's one of those things where I've had multiple people try to teach me, and I would just immediately sink.
That is the absolute last thing I expected to learn about you doing a Friday the 13th, the series podcast episode.
That's not really something that would come up, you'd think. Do I lack some sort of flotation organ that most other people have?
Trying to claim you're a mutant?
My mutant power is sinking.
It's your mistake being ripped, Matt. You need more body fat. You should have never gotten so swole.
Okay, I'll take that.
To answer the question, really the only stunt work you're down for is hardcore martial arts action.
Yeah, there we go.
Nothing but tornado kicks for you.
Exactly.
Does Helen still think she's going to get away with all this murder?
Honestly, I'm not sure Helen's really thinking that far ahead. I think she's just living in the moment.
I was going to ask if you thought the curio also makes one comfortable with the fact that they know that they're doomed, but your take on it is she's just not thinking about it.
I kind of get that impression, and I guess that's kind of realistic for teenagers.
My feeling was that what the show could have used that wouldn't have cost anything, wouldn't have really taken any time, and would have really elevated the material is a moment when Helen acknowledged that she wasn't going to get away with all this and that it was going to cost her her life. And I think that really would have increased our empathy with her.
I think we get maybe a little bit of that towards the end of the episode on the roof.
I can't think of a moment when I really saw like a facial expression that revealed now she knows it's all coming crashing down.
And that could just be me reading into it where it was not intentional.
Joanne breaks them up, actually backhands Helen, and then Scott backhands her. At this point, he's in full monster mode, and things get pretty intense here.
Basically domestic violence going on here.
Possibly made more brutal by the fact that he actually has been a really nice guy up to this point. He's not like a lot of characters we might get in a Friday the 13th movie, where we kind of don't like him from the beginning and are just waiting for him to get killed.
That kind of makes me wonder as well, if not only does the curio have an effect on the person who uses it, but if it changes the personality of the person it's used on.
It's a big tent party, Matt. Ryan wakes up again, sees rats, and then immediately falls asleep again. 5 seconds of total filler.
No way this guy does not have brain damage.
You'll notice the number of rats is inconsistent too, probably because it's really difficult to wrangle rats and they just didn't have the time.
Yeah.
They just didn't care. What's your next note?
What did Jack notice that made him say, "What in the world?"
Oh, really? I addressed that in my scripted portion. It's my contention that either a sound effect was forgotten or the music was scored too loud and covered it up.
How many high school proms had live bands at that point in history? Maybe that was more realistic back then. I don't know.
I'm not sure, but film and TV have conditioned me to believe that they all do. I'll throw Friday the 13th, the series, a bone on that one.
They actually splurged for the mirror ball for the prom.
It comes standard with the gym. It's been hanging up there since 1947. Actually, I suddenly am curious to know the history of mirror balls. I mean, we associate them with disco, but I feel like they probably existed well before that. I mean, it's no cutting-edge technology. It's mirrors in ball form, and you shine a light on it. Did you think there was too much reaction to Helen showing up at the prom with Scott? That it just plays too long, or the fact that every single person notices and reacts to it?
That Didn't really occur to me when I saw it, because if I were going to the school and I knew who these people were, that I would probably have the same reaction.
I mean, I guess I would think Helen is Joanne's sister, so Joanne's boyfriend Scott is escorting her into the dance floor. Maybe he's even going to dance with her one time.
True.
But everyone instantly reacts like, oh my God, he's no longer dating Joanne. He's clearly dating the sister.
Now that I see it again, it is everyone reacting to it.
Exactly. Every single person.
Not a single couple or whatever who maybe just keeps going. Even people who just aren't looking in that direction, who wouldn't notice. Every single person.
Even if you're outside of visual range, you almost sense it and turn in that direction. Jack and Mickey finally discover Russell in the shop room. Did it strike you as a little odd they investigate this without ever turning on a light? The guys are looking for someone, right?
True, but they understand that they have to keep the atmosphere going.
They're aware they're in his show.
Exactly.
Maybe it's unique to Jack because in a moment he's going to break into Helen and Joanne's house, sans flashlight, and just search in the dark.
He could have just as easily flipped on the lights in the house.
Did you notice that they panic when they see a corpse, and then as soon as they realize it's only a dead high school student, they relax and just go about their business? That's how numb they've become by only episode 15 of this series. Death is their trade. Ryan suggesting maybe they're at prom. You're at a high school at 10 o'clock at night. They're probably not attending social studies. See those kids walking by in tuxedos and ball gowns?
Yeah.
Prom is in full swing.
Was barging into the prom and yelling Helen's name really the best approach for this?
Yes. A bloody, concussed Ryan the Lion leading the charge, screaming Helen's name in a packed high school gymnasium. You guys really went 0 to 60 on the stealth scale there.
Poor Ryan, he gets punched in the face, so another probable head wound there.
Concussion layered atop concussion.
Right.
When Helen and Scott are in the woods in front of the building that they eventually go into, and Scott says, "Helen, I love you," she says, "No, I know the perfect place." Why?
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
She's saying, hold that thought. I want to have this romantic moment, but let's go somewhere else first.
That's all I can figure. There is no other explanation that makes sense. Helen basically says, the only way we can truly be together is if we die. Why?
Is that the moment you were referring to? That's the moment when Helen realizes she also needs to die?
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure I see it, but then again, they are being chased. And instead of trying to actually get away, they go up to the roof of a building, and then she decides to slow dance with Scott on the parapet. So I don't know if she actually thinks they've gotten away or if she just doesn't care what happens next.
Probably more of the latter. Just admiring that obviously fake cityscape behind them.
Yes, that is a terrible backdrop. Even in soft focus, even in the low resolution of a YouTube video, that is a terrible backdrop. It seems to depict skyscrapers in a neighborhood that clearly does not have them.
Once again, it must be the influence of the compact telling her, you need to die.
She feels to me like the first antagonist we've had that isn't actively trying to get away with it.
Which brings me back to the idea of the impulsiveness of youth.
Frankly, Matt, I think young Mistress Mary from episode 1 had a longer-term strategy than Helen. Young Mistress Mary was playing chess, whereas Helen is playing checkers. Did you have any thoughts on the fact that Jack brings Joanne to the scene?
There's probably no way he could have known that he was bringing Joanne to this place just so she could watch her sister and her boyfriend die horribly.
He was dragging a trauma victim to a murder-suicide. That's fair.
At the same time, it almost seems like he would have been better off calling an ambulance for her or something, seeing as how she just nearly hanged to death.
He should have been like RoboCop calling a trauma counselor for her.
Right.
How many films or television shows can you think of where two characters fall off a structure at the same time?
Yeah, you're right. I think that's pretty rare.
If they're not landing on separate airbags, that seems crazy dangerous to me.
The only two things that come to mind are, funny enough, both written by Shane Black. One was the first Lethal Weapon.
Oh, that's fair.
Riggs handcuffs himself to the suicidal guy and they jump onto the airbag.
I'm tempted to parse it just a little bit because they start the jump side by side and finish side by side. This was kind of one after the other, which seems like it compounds the danger.
Hopefully that's extra hazard pay for the stunt performers.
What was your second example?
the nice guys. But one of them wasn't even a real thing because you see a guy splat on the ground and the other one lands in a swimming pool. So that doesn't really count.
Well, and I'll walk back this a little bit in the sense that in this one they jump off together, but in Lethal Weapon they jump off feet first, whereas in this they're going head first, and one of them is facing down, one ends up rolling over and is a little bit below the first person. I don't know. Maybe someone died in this for all I know. Maybe they just didn't bother with a dedicated to credit at the end because it was too grim.
Maybe Canadian productions didn't have the same rigorous safety standards as we do here in the States.
Forgot this was shot in Canada where life is cheap. So now we get a wonderful shot of Joanne on the rooftop being re-traumatized.
Oh, that poor girl.
Poor Ryan, still gushing blood from every hole.
Gotta say, though, that slow motion shot of Ellen and Scott falling is pretty well done.
Oh, I absolutely give full props to the stunt work on this show. Jack basically becomes Jambi from Pee-wee's Playhouse because he's wearing a black coat against a black sky. Like Jambi in a fisherman's hat.
Right. And I do like that bit where he picks up Helen's purse looking for the compact. It kind of seems a bit disrespectful of what just happened, but at the same time, you do need to get that thing off the streets and into the vault.
Yep, comes with the territory, I'm afraid. The grim realities of being a haunted curio detective.
Police and EMTs have shown up, and I'm wondering to myself, is anyone going to question our trio? People can put them up on the roof at the time of the suicide. Not implying that they would say that they killed them, just that they were witnesses.
They weren't just up there, Matt. They brought the victim's sister.
Right.
And Jack literally just loaded her into an ambulance, I think. I note in my script how blasé they are about the authorities for all the reasons you just cited.
It's a problem that pops up in a lot of these kinds of shows, really, like Supernatural. For the first season, how do these guys do this stuff without ever being tracked by the cops? And they eventually did address that, but for a while there, I didn't quite get how it seemed like they were somehow in a separate reality from everybody else or something.
Oh yeah, the hoops they had to jump through on that show to establish them with, over time, basically every single law enforcement agency to justify how they could get away with it week after week. Outside Curious Goods, a temporary wall, possibly fashioned of cardboard, has been erected along the cross street. And let me be clear, it's not the focus of the shot or even something we're meant to notice, so its existence is a complete mystery. However, the fact both it and the brick wall of Curious Goods are now covered in paper leaflets prompts me to headcanon it's a memorial wall for all the victims our protagonists have failed to save since the series began. Inside, my eye is drawn to neither Mickey nor Jack, but the collection of old brooms between them. Are those really gonna cover the rent? Friday, are you feeling okay? This ending is unusually dour. Mickey actually expresses guilt for all the people they've failed to save and all those who will die because they didn't retrieve the compact. And Jack actually grounds the show by admitting it's possible the reason they've been so successful recovering objects so far is just pure dumb luck. And all this plays out in a single 1 minute and 45 second long shot that uses blocking instead of editing to transition between a master, two-shot, and close-up that, again, feels inspired by the best of Spielberg paying homage to Golden Age Hollywood. Unfortunately, on the high school campus, where life has resumed to normal despite the quartet of recent deaths, the compact is discovered by an anonymous young woman in what might be called two elevated insert shots that can't maintain continuity regarding just how hidden the compact is by a shrub. This is possibly the last curio I would have guessed would be tapped for the tease of a return. But there you have it. Suck on that, Mr. Scarecrow. Any sane synopsis would end at this point, but the motif of illumination continues into the credits with the reveal that this episode's editor was one Peter Light, spelled L-I-G-H-T. It's a grim episode where they get no answers, save only one life, and do not find the curio in the end.
Yeah, I noticed that. They do not get the item back. Also, I noted that Mickey seems to be much more affected by all this than Ryan or Jack.
The lifestyle she's chosen has finally started to weigh on her. By the phone booth, there's what looks like a thin sheet of wood, and it has all these papers tacked to it.
It almost looks like the barrier that gets put up when there's construction being done on the building.
In the previous episode, the phone line got cut, and there was someone from the phone company working right there. It's almost like a weird continuity.
I didn't notice any kind of romantic tension between Mickey and Ryan in this episode.
Thank God. I'm sure they were kicking themselves afterwards for forgetting to continue the love story between these two cousins.
Once again, maybe it's different in Canada.
This episode actually ends in classic horror film fashion, where they don't just fail to find the item, but we actually get a final stinger that someone else does find the item out there in the world and that this is going to continue.
The only thing that makes me feel like it wouldn't pop back up in another episode is the fact that it's not really all that interesting of an item.
It's possibly the least interesting curio they've gone after so far. I think the most interesting thing about it is the fact that the mirror was cracked. Maybe the snake on the outside.
I honestly think it was Helen is what made it interesting.
Oh, you mean the real curio was the Helen inside us all along?
Right.
It was the Helens we made along the way? I love that this item is found on the high school grounds, so it might just continue at this high school.
Well, at least it'll be easier to find.
I would hope so, because they're up to 4 deaths on the high school, and I seriously hope the authorities had the wherewithal to reclassify the death of Scott Farkas.
You would think so.
According to IMDb, this is a top-rated episode. Do you agree with that framing, Matt?
It definitely wasn't one that stuck out in my memory. The ones that I remembered were the Baron's Bride.
The vampire one.
That one I definitely remembered, and the one with the teacup.
Yes, you can't forget A Cup of Time. And I'm sorry, I should have said the time-traveling vampire episode.
And, of course, the David Cronenberg episode. That one is absolutely going to be seared into my memory.
Episode 12, Faith Healer.
When I listened to your commentary on that episode, I was glad to know that I was not alone, or that my memory was not faulty, that shot of the guy's contacts being taken out of his eyes were disgusting.
Yeah, scarred you as a kid.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on performances?
I thought Ingrid Veninger did a really good job as Helen. I am very curious to know what she came up with and what all was in the script. I also admire her lack of ego, I guess.
Definitely a good sport.
Right. And then Gwendolyn Pacey, also quite good. Her main cast is pretty decent as per usual.
Yeah, but really almost background players in this episode.
One other thing that I did note about the show as a whole is that it has the best of both worlds in that it has recurring characters, but it still kind of feels like an anthology series.
Yeah, this was an episodic show with serialized elements.
Yeah. Maybe I'm just describing television before the 2000s, but this series feels like more of an anthology.
And I personally liked seeing Zach Ward show up in this as Greg and David Orth, who played Scott. Very charismatic.
Oh, yeah.
Great supporting cast. They really had the weight of the show resting on their shoulders, but together I think they carried it.
Mm-hmm.
I would watch a horror film in which Scott and Joanne and Helen and maybe Greg drove around in a van in the woods encountering hillbillies or something. Especially if Jack Marshak comes across them at a gas station and tells them, "Don't go in those woods."
Seriously, though, the guy from the Friday the 13th movie series who does the whole, it's got a death curse on it, he should have been in every single one of those movies. They should not have killed that character off in part 2.
Oh, he should have been the Eugene Levy of the series. The way he de facto became the face of the American Pie franchise.
Oh, right, yeah.
The small supporting role you don't suspect eventually becomes the main through line.
All I can think is maybe they just thought, hey, we can only have one horror icon in this series.
Well, if they had, they at least would have had one character that was consistent, because even Jason changes radically.
That's true, yeah.
Everything about the whole mythology was all over the map, but you had this one element that was the through line.
Yeah.
That is a brilliant idea, Matt. I love that. And I think we should end on that note.
All right.
Pull it George Costanza and end it here. Thank you, everyone. You've been great. Good night. Thanks again for joining TV's Matt and I as we parse this nonsense. This episode was a minefield of gender roles and beauty standards, and the next episode has a mostly Asian cast and is set entirely in some city's Chinatown. Yikes! Joining me for that exploration of 80s Asian representation will, of course, be my very own brother and the man responsible for scoring this podcast, Joshua Romeo. And just to get one more white perspective on the issue, his wife, Stephanie, will be my second guest. Truly, nothing could possibly go wrong. Thanks for listening, everyone. We know you have a lot of options when choosing a Friday the 13th the Series podcast, and we sincerely thank you for choosing ours. Special thanks to Joshua Romeo for original music and to Stephen Yu for original art. And be sure to check out the Joe on Joe podcast, the only podcast where Joe Schlepsky discusses G.I. Joe. An episode with a mirror and reflection Jason couldn't appear just once? If you want to support our show, you can leave a review and rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. If you want an occasional update on our projects, you can sign up for our newsletter at the Inner Demon Entertainment website. And if you want to complain about social media with us on social media, you can find links on our website. Oh good, the Asian episode has gambling, herbal medicine, and an opium den. Can't wait to weigh in on that. And always remember what Carl said to Frylock. It don't matter. None of this matters. Good night, everybody.